Hello friend, how are you? Welcome to Tripan Study Center. Today we are going to do the chapter of social science and highlighting each and every point of it. Let's see what is our topic today. Medieval world. There is a most important chapter here, medieval world. The first point arrive here, Europe in a medieval time. There is Europe in a medieval time. There is a most important topic here. The middle period is also called to the Middle Age. There is a middle period is also called Middle Age. As the name suggests, it is a refer to the period which succeeds the Ascent period and come before the middle period, but was it is only a Middle Age is a cup in between two great ages. With no significance of it, it's over. Not real in the medieval period, considered the unimportant state is the evolution of human society. That need to be a study for its own interest here. What is more, the achievement and galleries of medieval period were also important step to about to the modern period. There is the most important on this period time here. You may be find interesting to be now that is a term Middle Age was coined by the European in the 7th century because they say it is as on the long and the dark period of the interruptions between to the classical period of ancient Greek and Roman civilization and their urban Middle Age here. However, the medieval period was not necessarily of a dark period or the interruptions here. For the Islamic world, it was a period when a civilization flowered and reached there is a height of its gallery. Its India's middle period was on edge of synthesis. Synthesis is important. It says a fusion of the old and new political, economical, and social system here. Out of this fusion emerged a unique culture pattern of coexistence and the acceptance that is because they are hallmark of the medieval period of India. Even in Europe, the picture does not be appear as gloomy as it is sometimes thought. It is an earlier part of medieval period, their level of material and cultural accomplishment and was not a doubt somewhat low. That is important. However, during the later part of the Europeans greatly is improved their standard of living and they also developed a new institution of learning and new mode of thought. There is reached very high stand in the literatures and art. In fact, the new idea that emerged during this time not only a transformed European but also had a deep impact on the rest of the world in their time to come. Let us then to find out what was happening in the different part of the world during to Middle Asia. The next point here, decline of the Roman Empire. Decline of Roman Empire here. We have read in the preview lesson about the strength and greatness of Roman civilization. But we also read how the Roman Empire had come to be divided into the western and eastern territories. The western province as had there is a capital in Rome, while the eastern province has there is a capital in a Constantinople. The Roman Empire is a Constantine had a set of the new capital of the eastern territory in their ancient Greek city of the Byzantine in the 330 AD. It's come to now as a Constantinople after his name. The Roman Empire is continued to be exist in their east for almost 1,000 years after it had collapsed it in their best. There is a collapse in the best. That is important. It was now as the Eastern Roman or the Byzantines as Europe. The Eastern civilization of Greek-speaking people reached a very high standard of economic and cultural life at a time when the Western Europe was in the relatively a backward condition. The Roman Empire in the West come to an end following attack by the various Germanic tribes like their Goth, Vandal and Vigoths and Franks after the overthrowing of Roman Empire in the West in 476 AD. This is an order established separately a successor state. Did all the political upheavals is a result in a completely change? Did the political and economical system built by the Roman disappear? Well, the new Germanic rules did not be completely or replace their earlier system with their own. In fact, Roman and Germanic societies come into the close contact and emerge with each other. As a result of this and the prevalent political and economical condition, a new type of society was born in Europe with a institution and system that were quite different from either Roman or Germanic one. The most important institution of the new society was feudalism. It's a completely transformed to exciting to the social, political, and economical organization here. Let us see how this system is involved and that is the characteristics where. The next topic is the most important here, feudalism. Feudalism is according here a political, military and social, economical aspects here that is the most important. You know that the ancestral state of Germanics is a people in the best managed to be or restore a political stability after the collapse of the Roman Empire. In fact, one this state is a managed to be create a sizable empire under the famous king Charles. Charles, which is a began to be collapsed after about a mid 9th century. There is a collapse is the after about a mid 9th century under to the impact of a fresh wave of invention. Invention there is important. The resulting of political choice lead to be an emergence of new kind of political order is called feudalism. There is a feudalism. What do you mean to feudalism here? The resulting of political choice lead to be emergence of new kind of political order is called feudalism. It was the hierarchicals are gradually organized of political sovereignty. Sovereignty is important. The hierarchical structure can be understood easy if you visualize as a ladder or a fight or step. At the top of the ladder stood there a king is below him stood there a big lord known as the duke and the aeolus. Below this lord were a number of lesser lord known as the barons. Below this were is a knights as who is where to rebel their lowest category of lords. The Lord drives there is authorities from and when there is a loyalty to be the Lord just above them and prayed null as the vessels of their Lord. And this pattern of relationship between to the Lord and vessel, that is between to bigger Lord and lesser, a Lord was the same for the top of the ladder to be a bottom. This lord were all their powerful in their respective local area. Thus the political power was widely dispersed, unlike in the Roman Empire where it was concentrated mainly in the hand of the king. And this was the political aspect of feudalism. That is important. A unique feature of the new feudal political structure was the personal nature of their bond that linked a lord and his vessel. An elaborate ceremony would be organized to establish his bond. In this ceremony, the vessel would be take a vow to be served their lord all his life. Similarly, he also accepted their protection of the Lord. Protection was important since this were politically is an unstable time. In return to be a protection that is a vessel received, he was bound to be perform various service for this lord. And this mainly included a military service, of which mean that the vessels had to be provide a contains number of traps whenever is required by the lord. In this turn, the lord was accepted to make a grant usually in the form of land from to the substance of the weave is a field. From which the world feudalism is a drive. There is the world feudalism is a drive. The Lord used to the mobilize of army a supporter in there is urban area who had a personal loyalty directly to him. With this is army strength, we would be provide to military support to the Lord whenever required. With this military power, the Lord also become a complete master of their own area and could not be a challenge even by the state. That is important. In a period of political turmoils, just as the Lord shouted a protection, so did the peasant. This is a peasant had no land their own. Means the farmer had no land of their own, no implements, and could not be fought to be by seeds. For this well as for protection of free farmer now returned to be Lord. And this dependent of farmer of medieval Europe. Tied to the soil and completely is a subject to the authorities of the Lord, which is called supply a major provisions of the wealth and generated during this period was through their explanations. To us understand how this happened, let us see how to agriculture was organized during this period. There is the most important point here. The entire landed state over which is the federal lord had a control was now as the manor. The land surrounding their manor house was divided into three parts. Land for the use of the lord, the arabus land is granted in the parcel to be farmer and the meadow land used by the everyone as a grazing land for a livestock. The surface who is occupy this a parcel or holding were regarded a tenants of the lord of the manor. Began the tenant there had to give us something to the lord as a rent, and this rent was paid by a farmer in form of labor's service to the lord. They also work on the land of the lord for contain a number of day in a week. Number of day in a week. The servant had to be put an extra labor during to the agricultural season when plunging, harvesting, threshing was required. Such unpaid labor service also include other heavier tasks such as a construction work and having on cutting of the firewood. In the later phase of feudalism, and this is labor service were gradually substituted by this playable in a money. Here show the most important diagram here picture of federal manor. There is the most important here. Third field, posture, cell house, manor house, workshop, and water. Second field, first field, church, band. There is the most important settlement on this time. You know that there is a all the posture here settlement on federal manor on this time here. The surplus also had to pay some due or taxes in a kind which come from to the share of their own produce. These were often is introduced arbitrarily whenever their lord is want to be more sources. The lord also extracted from the farmer in indirectly manner here. The manure was a self-sufficient economical unit, and this means that is almost all the articles of every day use were produced and consumed on it. For this there is where to various facility like a smith lies for a turning out the iron object, flour is a mill for a grinding wheat or corn, or is oven from a baking bread, wine a press for the making of wine from a grapes, and the various workshop of making product of everyday use. All of this were is owned by the Lord. The farmer, mean peasant, where is a forced to be used, and this facility and their charge for this would be cost be a fixed by the Lord according to his own will. The next point here, changes in a federal economics is a prosperity and increase of medieval Europe here. There is a most important topic here. We have just finished in reading about there are various aspects of the federal system, but this system is remained the same throughout the medieval periods here, and not at all. Indeed, it is the federal system was not a static system. It's a witnessed a several change and the federal economics is undergone a pattern of prosperity and a crisis. Let's trace of the pattern for a beginning here. The few centuries is after the collapse of the Roman Empire were marked by the low level of economical life. As we already know, this was also a period of political changes and turmoil. There was a decline in the town life and trade and military exchange. Some cities survived from a Roman day, but these were only empty cells which had no real economical role. The road deteriorated and batteries is widely replaced their use of money. European economics has a base almost entirely on the agriculture and very limited local trade here. The main economics until was their self-sufficient as landed state are the federal manners that we have read about. Technology in agriculture was backward and the agricultural yards were low. And this condition is latest till about the 10th century AD. After the 10th century, the federal system of production underwent a significant change. There was an increasing in agriculture field as the system became more and more stable. Another factor that has helped in the increasing of agriculture productivity at this time was a significant improvement in agriculture techniques. A new plugin and the reduce, which was heavier, had a wheels and was driven by a teams of oxen, and this helped in cultivating their heavy and strictly soil and northern Europe more effectively. Agriculture was later replaced by the three-field system in which 1/3 of the land was left a fallow, 1/3 was used for cultivating autumn's crop and 1/3 for the spring crop. By the leaving only a third part of the land fallow, there is a three-field system helped greatly in increasing the cropped area. The new plunging three-field system and other inventions in the agriculture techniques are helping in increasing the agriculture yards by several times. Along with the expansion in agriculture, the period from the 10th to the 12th century also is a witness the revivals of trade and the growth of town life. Trade ranged from the small trade at a local market, where is a peasant means farmers sold their excess as a grain and eggs, and about a long distance trade product like a wine and cotton. Improvement in the road and the building helped a road or transport. A revival and the sea routes where is also used for a trade. The revival in the trade is made as necessary new pattern of payment since the bat rate was the inadequate for this purpose. As a result, many economics made a taxes advance and this led to agriculture prosperity of the surrounding rural area. The towns soon began to specialize in the content enterprise. As one of these was the cloth making, which became one of the most important industry of these towns. Guilds has become important and both merchant activities and craft production come to be organized around guilds. This medieval town continued to grow important and ultimately becomes an important factor in the breakdown of federal relation of countryside. That is important. Tendency of toward growth reached the limit by the end of the 12th century. Unsignificant change could be noticed in the federal system by the 13th century, which witnessed a reversal of the process of growth, the period of economic growth and their prosperity resulting in the rise of population. This meant an increasing in a supply of the labor for the landlord, and they therefore no longer found it a necessity to return there is a dimensions. All due to abundant labor service technology found a few is an investor. As the demand says land where is gone there needed to be extract left by a service from the a farmer also is want. The direction is a labor service as a technological nations of agriculture together with other factor brought is down agriculture yard very sharply. The food storage and famines is began to be occur. Epidemics of plague is a breakout in this time. All this resulted in our all is a decline in their agriculture economics, whereas our growth of money economics and urban center and trade. However, European society was able to be overcome this crisis and more easily than to the pre-10th century crisis, and by around 1450 their economical started moving to about to the recovery. We now have some idea about the condition in which the people as the Middle Europe lived here. We have also been able to be trace the pattern of change in this condition over a period of several countries. How did this change in the materials condition affect their society and culture of medieval Europe here? Let us see for the ourselves here. Give the relative low level of economics life in the period before the 10th century, we should be not a surprise to be now that if was not a prosperous time for a learning of the art. During this period, a learning remaining a privilege of the few. The masses have received no formal education. In fact, the language of learning was Latin, which was now only to be presently class. However, even there is a little bite of education was a very narrow kind. It consisted of mostly of memorizations without any reasoning of the questioning. All the learning was dominated by the blind faith. In such a condition, naturally there was hardly on the a development in the science, and there was some attempt at the revival, but even this did not be result in any real intellectually is a creativity. However, there is educated members of the precisely and monastic order did try to be recopy and reverse some major work of the Roman literature. This at least serve as the basis of the revolts of learning that began in the 11th and 12th centuries. This period was of very little significant production in the area of literature because of the low level of literacy in this time. The same in the case with the athletics productions in the period. However, a unique style, the development in this field was that of manuscript or intellections, and on the wall it may be a said that is a period of cultural attainment was the mineral of surface. European civilization at this time was a much backward and comparisons with the other is a contemporaries in the warrings and civilization like Byzantines and the Islamic world here. The propensity and relative peace of the period from the 12th century, the both about the consequent change in the cultural life of the period. And this period is a witness rise in the literacy with the spirit of primary education and the opening of universities, and there was attempt at the questionings of the classical knowledge as well as a knowledge from the Arab civilization. And thus the period was a progress in a knowledge and thought in Europe. It was an important step toward the intellectually the flowering that took place during the modern period. The next topic is here Arab civilization during to the medieval period. There is the most important topic here Arab civilization during the medieval period here. Arabia is the peninsula of desert. Before the founding of Islam, most Arabs were is a Babylonians, that is the wanderings is a camel, Herodos man, and there is a main source of livelihood was the pastoralism and the produce of the desert oases such as dates. Crop protection was the very limited, trade was a slangishing, and their urban development is a minimal. That is important here. In the second half of the 6th century, the economical pick up to some momentum due to a shift in a long distant trade of route. There are distant trades of routes here. There was an ongoing war between the two dominant the warring empire of the Avia, namely of the Roman and the Parisian. Because of this war, Arabia's become a safer transit is a route than other for a caravans is going between to Africa and Asia. And this encouraged the growth of some important town that took advantage of this trade. The most prominent of this was Makkah, which lay on the junction of some major trade routes here. The Makkah's position also is derived from its local religious importance and the Kaaba. Kaaba as the pilgrim pre-image is a sharing was required here. There is the Kaaba as a pilgrim image is a sharing is required here. The Kaaba at that time is served as a center of worship for a diverse Arabian clan of tribes here, and this sharing was controlled by the curious tribes and which play a powerful role in the economic life of Makkah. A Walian civilization arose to the Arabia in the medieval period, which influences a large section of world population. It often it is emerged to be the birth of Islam, and which was the significant development in the world history. The next year, society and culture. Arab is a philosopher was based on the study of earlier Greek thought. The Greek philosopher is cultivated by the philosopher who is believed to the is rationality. Rationality is important, and this philosopher is apart from there is a philosophical and explications where also it is distinguished in the studying of natural science. They practice astrology and medicine. Their astrology was based on the accurate astronomical observations. In a medicine, there is not only study there are medical written of the Greek carefully, but even much of behind that. Ivan Sina is now there is the best of Avicenna and discovered their infections of nature and tuberculosis and described their several types of nerves elements here. Ali Raza is now their best. Raza is one of the greatest clinical physician of medieval world and discovered the difference between two measles and smallpox. Other Arabic physicians also diagnosed a cancer to stomach and prescribe the antidotes for cases of poisoning. On the interesting features of about their our people is that their excellence is over all other medieval culture in the organization of hospitals. There seem to be has been at least 34 hospitals located in the important cities of Persia and Syria and Egypt, organized on remarkable a model line here. The Arabs also excelled in the optics as the chemist and mathematics also here. And physics is founded to science of optics and draw a number of significant conclusions regarding the velocity and transmission of reflection of light. In a chemistry, these people are credited with the discovery of various new substances and their compound like a carbonate of soda. Alumina, saltpeter is a nitric and sulfuric acid among their things. There is also they are first to describe their chemical process of distillation, filtration, and sublimation. In a mathematics, the greatest accomplishment of our was to bearing together there is a geometry of Greek and number system of the Indians. In fact, the use of Indian number system spread so widely through their Arabs that we have best named them to Arabic numerals. With a synthesis of all this exciting to knowledge, and the Arabs were able to make a great progress in arithmetic, geometric, and trigonometric. And these Indian numerals are even now used all over the world. And they have not now come to be now the European numerals here. Here show the most important number system. European number system is the same. There is an English number system. Arabic index here are the most important. Show you on the screen, and Eastern Arabic index is also important. And the Devanagari Hindi. There is Hindi is the most important in the Indian language. But Tamil is a very different. There is a number system of different state, and there is a country. There is the most important of number system, so you need screen. The Arab civilization was also noted for its literature, particularly of poetry. The Rubaiyat of Omar's Khayyam is example of poetry that is remembered that a day. Just as ordered field, Arab arts also represented a beautiful synthesis of various styles like the Byzantine and the Persian. Architecture was the most important of the Arabs' art. Example of Arab architectures include mosques, places, and madrasas. There is the most important on the architecture in this period of time. It is a principal feature where domes, minarets, is the arches, etc. that are important. In short, it may be said that at the time when the West was lagging far behind, Arab civilization was it is a peak is intellectually there is a artistically here. The establishment of the West as empire through the Arabia into contact with the device is a culture such as the Arabs, Persians, and Turkeys, Indian and African. This device element is to create a splendid society leaving to the behind a legacy of discovery and achievement. The next topic is the most important here. Medieval India civilization. There is important Medieval India civilization here. In the previous lesson, we have a read about the Gupta Empire. After the reign of King Harshvardhan, began a prolonged to the period of political decentralization between the 8th and 10th centuries, during which the several kingdoms struggled for a supremacy. In the northern India, there are three major kingdoms, where those of the Pala and the Perihars and the Rashtkutras. Rashtrakutra is a similarly is a kingdom of principalities were established by their Rajput, then status of Chauhans, Brahmars, Gavalas, etc. In the southern, it was the Chols then century that is had the control over most of the peninsular part of their country. This situation of fragmentations of political authorities was greatly favorable for a invader like a Muhammad of Ghazni. The Muhammad Ghazni is the most important on this period of time here. After the server successfully conquest in the western and central Asia, Muhammad turned to about to India. Is the India is a conquest began in the 1000th century AD, and which they made a repeated invention of our Punjab as for a Kashmir and eastern Rajasthan, and then into the fertile area of Gangotri plan. And however, the Muhammad was not interested establish his rule over this country. The first point here, political event. Muhammad as invention were followed by their coming of the Turk. The Turk establishing their rule over most of northern India by the 13th century. The Turkish ruler there is now as a Sultan, and the rule from there is a capital at Delhi, and their empire is thus called to the Delhi Sultanate. The Delhi Sultanate there is important. It is most powerful than centuries were those of the Khalji and Tughlaq. Most of his rule had to faced their threat of the invention by their Mongol. The meanwhile there is southern there are two powerful kingdom of Vijayanagar and Bahmanis, where is the constantly is a competitive with each other of political supremacy. There is the most important on this period time here powerful two kingdom here Vijayanagar and Bahmanis, where is constantly competing with each other. The coming of Mughals in the earlier 16th century mark a new era of Indian history. The politically it was a constitutions of all India empire on the scale that had not been a witness in the India for a long time. Socially and culture, this was a period of a fusion of various traditions. Out of the fusion of both a unique tradition which could be seen in the social life, religious practice and belief, and is a various art. It was based on mature conception and harmonies of coexistence. Parallel to this centralized empire such as the Delhi Sultanate and Mughal Empire, there is a flourish several smaller regional and provisional independent during their centuries. And some this where is a Elias Shahi and Hussain Shahi is the Ministry of Bengal. The mall of the Assam and is a Gujapati century of Odisha. The density of the Mehbar and there is a Mehrabar is Rajasthan and the Sardik century of is a Janpur. The design of this independent regional of century witnessed their growth of strong and flourished regional and sub-regional language, literature and cultures. The next year, political institution. There is a political institution also important on this period time here. The coming of the Turk and is the Mughals about their new idea of sovereignty and governance. In the first place of kingship itself had no clear-cut element of place in their Islamic conception of political which was based on the notations of a community of equal. Initially, a power was shared between to the Sultan and powerful Turkish chief are the nobles. But the resign of the Balban say on the evolution of the position of the Sultan. So much so that is assumed assaulted as a power in all matter of state and governance. Power of the Turkish is nobility was considerable downsized. The Mughal established the power and prestige of the king at the unprecedented level. The Sultan of Delhi and the Mughal Empire made some inventions in their administrative system. The Mughal Empire come to be regarded as is an empire of India. In Delhi Sultanate is a military commander where is assigned their terrorism unit is known as a Iktas. Iktas there is the territories where are transferable. And the science of this is a ikta. There is a not given to ownership of the land, but only control over the revenues collected from them. This revenues was to be used by the iktadar. That is the assigned to be a meet his own requirement, as well as there is a for a maintenance of his troop. And he would be then expected to provide to the military support. With this is the troops wherever is called upon by their empire do so. However, there are pre-existing structure of control over land and the herches in the landed a system of village and continuity they are largely undistributed. The undistributed there is important. The Mughal system was a more penetrative with the control over the revenue and landed a network going much deeper right to village level. The Mughal appointed a Mansubadar who is performing a military and civil duties. The Mansabas were actually rank or position which was fixed according to the position of officer in a Mughal bureaucracy and the military or contingent under their command. And these Mansavadars were mostly paid through a land assignment is called Jagir, which were frequently transferable and these were similar to the Ikta. With the difference that will the Ikta is combined to administrative charge and Jagir is not. The Mughal system was crucially is depend on the smooth functioning of Mansardari and Jagadari system in this time. The next point here, economics. The economics condition on this period time here, the Delhi Sultanate as well as the Mughal Empire was based on the surplus of their agriculture produce of peasant means farmer that was extract in their form of revenue. In the Mughal Empire, particularly in the design of Akbar for a reaching change is were made in the system of revenue collection. The land was a measuring and land revenue was a fixed according to the exact area of land. Fertility of the land was also is taken into the account. The cash value of the state as a share of the produce was the calculated according to the prevailing market price and revenue was a fixed in a cash term. Accordingly, the state encouraged payment of the revenue in a case. And this was a period of commercialization and agriculture and the state encouraged cash crop of production. The state also took a lot of interest in the extension of cultivation into zone which where a heteros is a uncultivated forest area. It gave up various incentives to be pioneers and agriculturists. There is a state also advanced to be a peasant loan as well as the revenue relief in time of crop failure. There is also important point here. The advance to the farmer loan as well as the revenue relief at time of crop failure. The trade and commerce will which had been declined are greatly following the period of Guptas and Seth rebellions during this time. The urban or centrate is a flourish after the considerable period of decline. The inland is a trade increasing in the 13th and 14th century as a result of this new urbanization on this time. A vast network of the road connecting this urban center has come up to the which also have facilitated trade. Cities like Delhi, Agra, Lahore, Multan, Dhaka, Ahmedabad, Surat, and Mumbai rose in importance. The merchandise from the Punjab was meant to be market to West and Central Asia. Political stability and relative pace established by the Mughal made it possible to thrive with the considerable as among the cities of the empire. Coastal trade also flourished in this time. There is a large number of trading classes and commercially practices were a high standard and integrated in this time. The Seth, Boras, and Modis is very engaged in the long distance trade, while the Biparis and there is a Bang Nix as a Dilat is a local and latest trade. The Sarafas and Sorofu, where is a money or changer who issue the handis and bills of exchange. The handi was a letter of credit that could be paid at the later date of the designed place. This facility the movement of goods from one part of country to another as it is a made the transaction of money over the long distance marketable easy. The next year, culture and religious life. There is the most important here. In the sphere of religious and culture, medieval period witness a great synthesis of tradition. Tradition that is important. The Bhakti movement and Sufi in the religious sphere are example on this period time here. The Bhakti movement which stress on the oneness with the God through the a personal and devotion come very close to be the everyday lives of ordinary people. It is a stress on their love, purity, and devotion rather than to rituals and sacrifice. The question is their caste system and the authorities of Brahmins. Bhakti Sant like Ramanand, Kabir, Ravidas, Mirabai, Guru Nanak, Turkaram, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and had a deep impact on the mind of common people, and this is influence continues even today. In fact, some of these sons developed their large followings. For example, Guru Nanak had deep influence over to people of Punjab. His large followings had led him to be found a new religion called to Sikhism, and was a follower is called Sikh. In a similar manner, the Sufi sons also stress on the revelations and love as the only way to the lives of divine. Their preaching there is a tolerant on comparison that live it alive and mysterious as and shaded their sorrow and analysis of the common masses. As a result, their influence over to the masses, both Hindu and Muslims, was very strong in this period time. There was also a lot of interaction between two Sufi and Bhakti sons. An exchange of philosophical idea took place on this time. Both tradition, in fact, actually a bridge between two community. There is an important bridge here, two community here. Language, literature, art, and architectures, music, and dance also bore out this trend of the synthesis between different traditions. In the area of language and literature, classical language like Persian and Bhakti flourished in this period of time. But the real remarkable development was the growth of religious language in this time. Under the Mughals, painting was organized in the royal Karakhanas and painter where is a government payrolls. The Mughal school is a painting represented a complete assassination of Persian and Indian style, and this to some extent was a result of their fact that the artists of the school both with them element of various traditions to which there is a belong like a Rajputana, Gujarat, Malwa, etc. Some famous painter Avera, Davavant, Baswana and Mukund and Kesav. There is a prevention of the present master. Like Abdul Samad and Saeed Ali, both are element of present style as well. And the manuscript or illustration was another hallmark of Mughal painting. Another fascinating aspect of cultural life is the medieval India is a visual and there is an Indo-Islamic architecture. It is characterized by the adaptation of Indian resources expressed as a motif and design of Persian style. New features like their arch and the domes where is combined with their use of Hindu motifs like a whale, lotus, swastika and Salvasis water is poured. The Qutub Minar and the Alan Darwaza as a various is a momentums of the Tughlaq period like their tomb and the Ghiauddin Tughlaq are a fine example of architecture during the Delhi Sultanate period. The momentum of the Mughal period reflects as the deeper and sense of fusion of assassination of Indo-Islamic style. For example, the momentum in a Fatehpur Sikri like a Panch Mahal and Biraval as a place and the Iqwata Khan as well as there is tomb of Humayun in Delhi. Akbar as a famous tomb as a Shikandra Itam Dulaha as a tomb of Agra and of course to the Taj Mahal are an outstanding example of Mughal architecture in this period of time here. Here show the most important Qutub Minar. There is a Qutub Minar on this period of time. There is the most important. Another fascinating aspect of cultural life in the Middle East India is visible in it is the Indo-Islamic architecture in this time. It is characterized by the adaptation of Indian resource, enterprise, there are most motifs and design of Persian style. New feature like their arc and the domes where is combined with the use of Hindu motifs like a bell, lotus and swastika and the lev, salt water, pot, etc. The Qutub Minar, the Ali Darwaza and the various momentum of their Tughlaq period like their tomb of the Ghiauddin Tughlaq are fine example of architecture during the Delhi Sultanate period. The momentum of Mughal period relieve a deeper sense of fusion of assimilations of Indo-Islamic style. For example, the momentums is the Fatehpur Sikri like a Panch Mahal, Birbal as a place and Iba the Khan as well as there is a tomb of Humayun's in a Delhi. Akbar is a famous tomb at a Sikandra Itamadullah as the tomb is Agra and the coast of Taj Mahal is an outstanding example of Mughal architecture. Here show the most important picture of Qutub Minar on your screen. There is the most important architecture on this period of time here. Music was also is patronized by the most medieval ruler in India. Indian a system of local and instrumental musical interfaces with the Arab, Iranian and Central Asia tradition of music New rag come to be a composed on this period time. The Bhakti and Sufi tradition also give a impetus to new devolution style of music. The middle period of India history, quiet and distracted in it, characterized by the political, economics, and cultural life, was thus the another important outstanding period after the ascent